Hello and welcome in to Blues Central on STL Sports Central. I am Ethan Hannaford, joined tonight by Mike Meyer, Jacob Stanoch, and Thomas Welch, bringing you all of the latest off-season information, keeping you guys up to date on what is going on for the St. Louis Blues, and even some NHL league-wide discussion going on tonight. Going to be discussing a couple of things. We'll be starting off with some conversation regarding who we think could be some of the breakout stars for this upcoming Blues team in 2025-26, as well as who could be at risk to be taking a back seat and taking some steps in the wrong direction. And then the first annual, working on the title still, but for now, we're going with the Frozen Four. That is FORE 4, as we will draft who we believe will have the lowest plus minuses in the National Hockey League in 2025-26. So this is going to be a loaded episode. Buckle up, get those seatbelts nice and comfy, nice and tight, because we're about to go. But first off, before we dive into any of that, gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Hot.
Not all at once.
I mean, I just feel phenomenal. Like the build up and the cadence for this episode, we're literally going to talk about some of the Blues that we think are going to have bounce back seasons or regressions, or kind of a state of a union of where we're at right now, and then immediately go into here's everyone that we think is going to suck this year in the NHL. But it's not kind of like we were talking about before the episode started. Like, it's not always about who's going to suck, because Sidney Crosby, who's obviously going to be first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best hockey players in the history of the game, had a -20 last year. So sometimes it's just, bad circumstances. A great player finds himself on a bad team and ends up, -20, -30 on the year. And that's pretty bad in terms of the NHL, but in terms of a golf scorecard, you're having a pretty good day. So that's what we're focusing on the second half of this episode. It's going to be a blast.
We know that within the last couple of, I guess more than a couple of weeks, few weeks now, there's been a lot of breaking information as far as what this Blues roster is going to be like in 2025, 2026. Go ahead and check out our latest video where we break down some of that information. If the Blues could still potentially be in the mix eventually to acquire Bowen Byram, is the Jordan Kyrou conversations regarding a potential trade just smoke, or is there anything legit behind that? And as well, just what we're excited about for this upcoming season, and a little bit of that conversation coming as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's dive into, guys, some of that conversation regarding who we think could be some of the breakout guys, regression risks in 2025-26 for this Blues team. I'll leave it to you guys. Should we start with the good or should we start with the bad?
I think we start with the good.
You start with the
We're
good.
going to start things here on a positive
I like
note.
the good. It's a good contrast between, like I said, the whole airing it out in the second part of this episode.
There we go. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's start with Mike. Mike, obviously, a lot of this based off of the article that you just wrote recently for stlsportscentral.com. So be sure to check out his article online at stlsportscentral.com. But go ahead and share who maybe I would say your most notable guy to keep an eye out for in 2025-26 that could be a breakout star for the St. Louis Blues team.
So I think we saw plenty from him here last season, but I think one of the biggest breakout candidates here for next year is actually going to come from the crease, and that's going to come here with Joel Hofer. Last year, he played 31 games, 16-8-3 with a .904 save percentage, but he had one shutout and 18 quality starts. I think this is the guy who just recently, signed the extension. I think that you could be able to see a little bit more of a 1A, 1B instead of that clear starter backup role here between Hofer and Binnington this coming season. And if that's the case, you could be seeing 40. I mean, he could probably push for 40 starts here this coming season. And if he's going to be able to get roughly a .643 quality start percentage like he saw last season, I think you're seeing a stud in the making here, and a guy who could potentially start taking over some starting role opportunities here for the Blues should a goaltender here like Jordan Binnington falter here just a little bit here next season. We saw a little bit here from that last year, and it was Joel Hofer who grabbed it by the reins, and he was the guy who helped keep this team reeled in. And I think that Joel Hofer is primed for a breakout this coming year.
Joel Hofer a 2-year, $6.8 million contract this past offseason, or I guess this current offseason, an AAV of $3.4 million. And something that's interesting, right, is that contract, the 2-year deal, set to expire when Jordan Binnington's 6-year deal will be concluding. So, you have 2 years, right, to kind of figure out the direction that you want to go. I know it was to a certain extent, last year was a little bit of a test period, but it feels like the next couple of years, you're really going to get an idea of what the future in the goal crease will be like for St. Louis. Feels like both will have their opportunities. Obviously, I think one will probably be a little bit cheaper than the other. Maybe I'm wrong. But it'll be something interesting to keep an eye on how those those contracts will expire at the same time, and to see how the Blues navigate that here over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting here for them. So, again, here in the crease, it's going to be do or die here between these two different guys. So, again, Joel Hofer, breakout candidate.
I really like that look.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm really with Mike here. I mean, after last season, just 31 games for his first true season. And he posts, a 904 last season, a an over 500 record, 16 total wins. And he played the brunt of that with the kind of that tougher stretch in the middle of the season. Still played very well, and we saw him play very well in the stretch with the success. So he got the contract I think he deserved. I think it would be great, and I hope this is the direction they want to take in a couple of years, is that they might be expiring at the same time, but maybe they actually want to extend both of them, depending on if Hofer all of a sudden just explodes and someone says, all right, now we're going to give you a starting job instead of having to back up Binnington for, another who knows how many years. But, that could be the case in 2 years. And I honestly think next year he'll be very close with Binnington. It was surprising just to see him get that many games this past year, with it being his first full season with the team. So what he did, I think he'll be just as good, if not better, this upcoming season.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love the Hofer shout, and I think Doug Armstrong has even gone on record as saying he'll put up the Blues goaltending tandem against everybody in the league. And I think here in St. Louis, we'd probably do the same after seeing the success that they had last season. I think having a guy like Hofer in the fold, even if he's only getting 30 games, maybe you bump that up a little bit this season, but the ability to give a guy like Jordan Binnington, who we know is able to carry the load and is able to play really as many games as you want him to, but really that's not what you want him to do, especially gearing up. And if you have plans of, progressing through the playoffs and making it far in the playoffs, you want as much gas in his tank as possible. So the ability to, give him nights off, give him days off, let him rest a little bit more until you need him in those dire months as you get towards the end half of the season. I think people underestimate how important of a role any backup plays in that scenario, but specifically one that you can rely on as much as Joel Hofer has proven to be in that situation. So I love that shout for sure.
Did you guys see the NHL post their top 10 goalies under the age of 25? Did you see that post a couple of days ago? They didn't have Joel Hofer on it, and Blues fans were like, Joel Hofer exists. A few days later, NHL Fantasy, I'm not sure if it's associated with the NHL or not, but a few days later, NHL Fantasy posts their top 10 fantasy goalies under the age of 26, and Joel Hofer was on there, and I thought that was the funniest thing. I don't know if they're associated.
They're righting their wrongs.
But
that's just what St. Louis does, man.
That absolutely cracked me up. I thought that was the funniest thing. But yeah, obviously a very bright future, it seems, ahead for Joel Hofer. So love that pick there, Mike. Jacob, who is your 2025-26 guy that you think could make have a real big breakout season here?
Another guy Mike wrote about here, and I had him obviously picked the moment he even came onto the scene last season to have an excellent season this next year. The Minnesota kid, Jimmy Snuggerud.
What surprise?
Yeah. No, not a surprise at all. But I mean, really, in all honesty, I thought he played so well, so disciplined, so mature in those first few games, and especially in the playoffs. And it was, especially due in part to the leadership of the Blues. I mean, he had Shen around with him all the time. making sure he developed into the league, did everything on and off the ice, which is a testament to the veteran presence that the Blues have, especially Braden Shen. But I mean, just what I saw from Snuggerud, his abilities. I mean, he only had one goal in the regular season, kind of a goofy one, but we saw his playmaking abilities in the playoffs, and what he did against the President's Trophy winner. This is, a kid who's only played 7 games, thrusted into an incredibly tough series, and he's playing, second line minutes, almost 20 minutes a night some nights, just playing out of his mind. There's no doubt in my mind he could put up, similar to what Kyrou did in his first couple of years. He putting up a 30-goal season, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he really just all of a sudden just started scoring in bunches with his ability. And then if he doesn't score, I think for sure he has, another still 60-plus point season with, a whole bunch of assists to his name, because he can make plays very, very well. He's an excellent skater. I mean, it's kind of hard not to just preach that he's just amazing, as it is. Kind of hard to find some flaws. But I think overall, I think this is going to be a season. He'll still get, a little bit more of an awakening to the league. So obviously he's not going to put up a 100-point season. But I think he will put up, certainly, I wouldn't be surprised, a 50-point season at least by Jimmy Snuggerud here. 20 goal, wouldn't be surprised. 30-plus assists. I think, he can excel, and especially with the people around him, what Armstrong has given him, what Jim Montgomery has given him in terms of the line combinations and all that kind of stuff. I think he'll feed off of others, and I think he can create so much himself that he'll just be flying out there and just explode.
Something that we'll have to say for an upcoming episode, but something I'll be curious of is how exactly they fit him in. We saw him obviously get some time on the top line. The Blues were banged up, though, last year in their top 6 when he was up. It'll be interesting to see how they fit him in. And it'll have to be a conversation for another time, because I think we'd be here all night if we could. So, Thomas, who is your potential breakout piece for the Blues in 2025-26?
Well, I would say Jimmy Snuggerud, but we've already mentioned him. But I will go on record as saying I think we're going to be looking at a campaign this season with Jimmy Snuggerud being a majority in the top 6, primarily on the first line, probably inserting himself into Calder conversations, which is going to be awesome, especially when you take into consideration that Pavel Buchnevich had one of the most, underwhelming seasons for him in recent history. He's due for a bounce back, and Robert Thomas was pushing as hard as he could to make the Four Nations team. I think ended up 5 points shy of his career high in 12 less games because of injury too. So I think both of those guys combined are going to be hungry this season. And with a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud, who's also young and hungry, coming from an NCAA team who we know pumps out prospects, and we've seen that immediate success before. I think that's a recipe for success for the Blues and for Jimmy Snuggerud in particular. That being said, I'm going Tyler Tucker, dude. It feels like the St. Louis Blues felt like they could move on from Ryan Suter because of Tyler Tucker's presence. Obviously, Logan Mailloux in the fold. We don't know if he's going to be on that third pairing or the second or what's going on there, but regardless of who is on his tandem and on his pairing, Tyler Tucker has shown that he can provide spark with his physicality, his skating ability. He's a force to be reckoned with on that back end, but he's also shown offensive prowess, which we knew he was capable of coming up through juniors and, in the preliminary years of his career. But it hasn't really shown at the NHL level yet. And it's not a knock on him. He just hasn't even played 100 games yet at the NHL level. So I think giving him a full season on that third pairing, we're really going to see what he's capable of. And Jim Montgomery in the offseason has already said that he loves his game and loves, when Tyler Tucker jumps over the board. So I think they're going to give him every opportunity to show him what they're capable of. And I think he's going to grab it by the horns and solidify himself as a presence on this team, not just for the regular season, but for the playoffs too, like we saw last year.
I think that ended up being a little bit of a blow last year for St. Louis there in the last couple of games. Was that game 6 that he ended up getting injured, or was it game 4? I can't remember which one it was. But Tucker had, at least in that game that he got injured, I cannot remember which one. He had a pretty impactful presence, had scored a goal in that game. And Suter ended up, I think he had been a healthy scratch for those couple of games. So he ended up playing in those last couple. But Tyler Tucker, I think, definitely started to open up some eyes for your average Blues fan, right, that isn't diving too deep into the team, saying, okay, this is a guy that could play a little bit. It will be interesting to keep an eye on him. Well, we have heard the risers. We're going to quickly move through some regression pieces, and then we're going to get to the draft. So we're going to do this a little bit more rapid style. I want to hear a name, and I want to hear just a couple of sentences as to why they could be that player that you're mentioning could be a guy that could be regressing this year for the Blues. And we'll hopefully be able to just dive into those a little bit further in upcoming episodes. So I'll go ahead and just to mix up the order here, we'll go with Jacob to start.
Oh boy. I think for me, someone who I could maybe see regressing, and this is, something you kind of hope for not to, but again, something that Mike put out was Buchnevich. It's the obvious one. Had some difficulty last year. He was really inconsistent. He was showing just flares of this and that and all over the place, and obviously you never know. He could all of a sudden just be like, yeah, I just worked my ass off in the offseason, just did an insane amount of everything, and now I'm going to be one of the best wingers in the league for no reason at all. But, as it's been trending these past few years, it's been kind of just a step down these past few. And I don't think it'll be a drastic drop off, but I think it's going to be a little bit of just a steady decline of what we saw last year. So you hope it's not the case. But I really don't think that he'll, just unfortunately, I don't think he'll have the season, and you just hope that it's only in the production and not about some of the mistakes that he made this past year.
Definitely not timely for the struggles to begin once the extension starts. So let's hope that that is not the case, but I think that's a pretty good option right there. Thomas, your thoughts?
I'm going to go with going along the same thinking of the Joel Hofer and the Jordan Binnington conversation. I'm going to say that this guy has a regression in his season, but it actually ends up being a good thing. And that's Braden Shen. I think he's going to get the majority of third line center minutes. And so, whether he plays less minutes or whether they're less impactful or whatever that looks like, his role kind of diminishes. His leadership goes up. He's less banged up by the time you get to the playoffs. He's not dealing with as many injuries throughout the course of the year. If that means him getting less points on the season, less goals, less assists, his plus minus isn't as impressive, I'm okay with that, because you're not getting a ghost of Braden Shen by the time you get to the playoffs. You get full tilt, fire in his eyes, absolute warrior that we've seen throughout the course of every season. And I'm not saying that in a second line role that he would lose that. I'm just saying if you keep all of his gas in the tank by the time you get to the playoffs, he's going to give you everything that he's got. And I think that's a great problem to have. And Suter in the fold, 25 goals last year, second line minutes for him, pairing him with Holloway and Kyrou. I think that's brilliant. I think they're going to flip flop that a lot and gives them flexibility. But I think, ultimately giving Braden Shen less minutes and putting less miles on his tires, I think that's great for the St. Louis Blues. Even if his numbers regress, I think that's a positive thing.
Mike, bring us home.
For brevity's sake, I'm going here with another goaltender, Jordan Binnington here, unfortunately. As you see the increase in the rise here of Joel Hofer, so does the decline here, unfortunately, here for Jordan Binnington. And it may not be statistically speaking, it's just going to be the overall volume. There can only be one goaltender here at a time. And I hope it doesn't mean a statistical decline here for Jordan Binnington, but you're going to end up seeing a potential more of a 50-50 split here between the two guys. So I think my regression candidate here is going to have to go with Binnington.
All right, you heard the projections right there from the boys. This is Blues Central on STL Sports Central. As always, all of our content is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That is code STL Sports for new customers to play. $5 in, you get $50 back in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, gentlemen, we have made it, and it is time for the Frozen FORE, the first annual Frozen FORE. That is FORE. FORE. Yep, that's right. I can spell. We don't want to get sued any. Okay, we don't want any of that. All right, so that's why we stuck with FORE. Get the golf term in there. Okay, all right, NCAA. All right. As just a refresher, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be projecting, sharing our draft boards for who we think will be some of the worst in 2025-26 when it comes to plus minus. Now, you might think this might be as simple as just looking and kind of getting an idea of who was struggled last year. We have to consider that there is a lot more to keep in mind than just some of the worst players in the league. You have to also consider, right, what teams they're playing on, if those teams are going to be improving this year, regressing, the guys that getting moved to different teams. There's all sort of things, right, to consider when it comes down to this. So we are going to get started here in just a moment. The draft order, so we were told, was put in a random order. I'm last, which I think is kind of interesting that it was random, but I'm last. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll get over it.
We're also going 3 forwards for each lineup. So we're drafting 5 players total. 3 forwards, so handedness doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's a center, winger, whatever. And then we're going 2
guys. It ain't that deep.
Yes, and 2 defensemen. So it's just, 1 line and 1 pairing. Doesn't matter handedness, doesn't matter right wing or left wing. It's just 3 forwards and 2 defensemen.
All right. Well, without further ado, the number 1 pick in the 2025-26 first annual Frozen FORE, that's FORE, FORE, plus minus NHL draft, goes to Mr. Mike Meyer.
So this one, I know, like we were talking beforehand, this is going to definitely be, there's a bit more research that goes into this. Like you said, you can't just compare here last season. I took actually from the start here of the 2021-22 season.
Oh,
wow.
And made some large research here.
An algorithm.
So, yes. So with that being said, there's a gentleman who played the last couple of seasons here on the Chicago Blackhawks, but recently signed with the San Jose Sharks. And so I don't think this is going to help out his plus minus here at all. I am going with Philip Kurashev.
There it is.
All right.
Number 1 pick. Guys, if you took anything from that, we're all screwed, and Mike's going to kick our butt. That's what's going to happen.
At least Ethan and I are.
Exactly. So there you have it, the number 1 pick. Say it one more time for the people, Mike.
Philip Kurashev. If this helps, he played 263 games over the last several seasons, and he was a combined minus 120.
Wow.
All righty. There is the number 1 pick. And Thomas, you said you're going to be updating the sheet so that we can keep an eye on those. Is that correct?
Yep, I can do that.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much. All righty. So we have the number 1 pick down, Philip Kurashev. Now on to the number 2 pick. It belongs to Jacob Stanoch.
Thank you. I did not do what Mike did at all. Right before we started recording, went to NHL.com, flipped around the plus minus on the stat sheets and go, who played a lot, who didn't, who played on who. And let's just say it's a lot of Chicago Blackhawks players, mostly, and also Nashville Predators. So without further ado, I think it's only fitting. This guy was an incredible rookie, but man, did he get stuck on the wrong team and on the wrong line. I'm going to take Connor Bedard.
Wow, there it is.
Good pick.
Yeah, he might be a generational talent, but when you are number 6 last season with a minus 36, you're not getting much help anywhere else besides yourself. So I think it's a best bet that he might not do it to himself, but the rest of his team will. I'll take Connor Bedard with my first pick.
All righty, there you have it. Jacob's first overall, or his first round pick, I should say. And now we move on with pick number 3 to Thomas Welch.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I want to thank the administration for having me. I want to thank NCAA for being so reasonable about the naming of this, and I want to wish luck to you gentlemen. Fair games all around, handshakes at the end of it, but it'll be a blast throughout the course of this season, and I wish the best to all of you. straight balls and fairways only. Anyways, with my first pick in the first round, there's a lot of things like we talk about that go into this a little bit. I was looking at the 5-year span, and a certain name jumped out to me that was also pretty high in his, negative 25 last year. He's a defenseman, which seems like it's, they're kind of hard to come by in this. So if you can get a good D-man off the rip, that potentially changes things. But I'm going to pick
bad D-man, but
Mario Ferraro.
Ooh.
D-man was a minus 25 last year and is a minus 105 in his last 5 seasons. Thank you.
That'll play. That will play. All righty. There you have it. And now we move on to the number 4 pick. Let's make sure we're trying to keep that list updated, guys. That helps me out a little bit. Throwing myself in here, switching everyone around. Got to keep this nice and fancy here. All righty. The number 4 pick. Well, I'm going to roll with something similar to what Jacob did as far as, looking at there's a couple of big star names out there that the numbers were not pretty last year when it comes to plus minus. And I think that because of the teams that they're on, the lines that they're on, those numbers aren't going to get that much better. Maybe a little bit better this year, but I'm going to roll with Macklin Celebrini from the San Jose Sharks. And I think, like I said just a second ago, you look at these guys and it's not as simple as the plus minus. In some cases that helps, but you look at guys like Bedard and Celebrini, they're on such struggling teams right now that are just not there in the rebuilding process. They're going to be going against everyone else's number ones. And you're just, even if they do end up having good seasons, scoring 30 goals, the plus minus is going to be rough. And I think Macklin Celebrini is likely to have a rough year when it comes to the plus minus again. So Macklin Celebrini is my first pick. And now we're going snake draft here. So I will get the 5th pick as well. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing?
Correct.
And with that being said, I agreed with Thomas as far as, you gotta, especially now, this is my 2nd round pick. So I feel like I have to go D-man here. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a tough spot here. So as I have a couple on my board here, I'm kind of processing this out a little bit. Who should I go with? All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna go with Brandon Montour with the Seattle Kraken as my D-man. I'm gonna roll with him. Minus 22 in 2024 and 25 overall in his career. He's overall pretty solid throughout his career, but it took a turn for the worst, and it's been slowly trending in a bad direction here the last several years. And I think we can all agree that Florida's in a much different spot right now than the Seattle Kraken. So Brandon Montour is the number 5 overall pick, my 2nd round pick. And that brings us to, that would be Thomas's next. Okay.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you. And going along with that, saying that the defensemen at the top of this draft are a dime a dozen, it kind of feels like they fall off a cliff quickly. Ethan, balanced it out, went 50-50. I'm going to go double down on D-man here.
And you're going double D?
Solely. It's a double D. I know. It's crazy. Crazy. I'm taking a page out of Doug Armstrong's book and going best player available. And I do believe this is the best player available right now when you take into consideration the position. I'm going to go with a brilliant D-man, fantastic at the game of hockey, has never been good at the defensive side, and is aging out of the process now to where I'm not sure the offensive side will be able to keep up with his lack thereof defensively. And for that reason, I'm going.
Don't you do it.
Don't take it.
Don't you do it.
Erik Karlsson.
Oh!
Come on.
I did not have it. So, Connor, I did not have him on my board. I did not.
Interesting.
All righty. There is the number 6.
I like the situation he's in on Pittsburgh. A lot of birdies over there.
Yeah, well, when Crosby goes minus 20 something,
yep,
it's not a good thing.
No.
All righty, Jacob, you are up. Pick number 7.
Well, I'm going to go same route once again. Going to go with defense. And kind of the same somewhat style of somewhat best available. In what I'm seeing with the trends, not looking good for his team. He's not a bad defenseman. He's actually won a couple of awards. He's just had it a little rougher these past few, getting up there again, age-wise a little bit. This is a defenseman on a team that everyone thought was going to do fantastic, but actually ended up tanking last season. So I will be taking Roman Josi with my next pick.
Interesting. So with that being said, I know the Central's tough this year. Do you expect for the Preds to have another down year?
I don't think they've done anything to make them better. That's the problem. Unless they all of a sudden flip their team. Obviously, they have the talent, they have players, but unless they did a drastic change off last year, I don't see anything really changing for them personally. And if anything, it might even get worse with how strong the Central is going to be this year. So I think Yosi's going to have one heck of an off season.
There you go. You heard it right there. Roman Josi, the number 7 overall pick. That brings us back to the man who had the number 1 overall pick. He's been nice and comfy. He's had a little while since that last pick, but he is back on the clock. It is Mike Meyer.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of guys here just fall off my board. Thanks so much here for that, gentlemen. So as much as this team here is trying to rebuild here as best as possible, I don't think that they're going to have another good season this coming year. In 70 games last season, he was a minus 32. I'm going to go with one defenseman here in Jamie Drysdale.
All right.
It's a great pick. That's a great pick.
That is a fantastic pick.
Jamie Drysdale with the Philadelphia Flyers. What line is he on with Philly? Do you know last year what he was? I'm putting you on the spot here with that one. It's okay if you don't.
He
think
had
he's on
to
their
be a
first
top.
pairing.
He had.
Is he on their
if he
first
was
pairing?
pairing?
Philadelphia
Yes.
Central.
I think so.
Okay, gotcha. All righty, there you go. And now because of the snake draft, you have the next pick as well, Mike.
Welcome back, Mike
And
Meyer.
because of that one here, I feel like I can be able to wait here on this one. I feel like I can be able to wait. So with that being said, I'm gonna go here with another defenseman, a guy who was actually rumored to the Blues here for a little while, but I'm gonna go here with a little bit of an aging
Ben
veteran
Sherratt.
here who's from Motortown in Ben Sherratt.
Yep.
Ooh.
All righty.
Great call.
So as we review 3 picks, we're into round number 3 here. This draft is moving with some serious pace. No need for 10-minute clocks here in the plus-minus Blue Central draft here. Philip Kurashev, Jamie Drysdale, and Ben Sherratt going to Team Meyer. Now, with pick number, is it 10 now? We're on to pick number 10, Mr. Jacob Stanoch.
I am going to go down the route of this guy had a moment, and that moment did not last long. Another fantastic, this was, again, another fantastic, and by that I mean incredibly rough season last year, wearing the teal and black from the San Jose Sharks. I'm going to take Barclay Goodrow. Minus
Another good pick.
37 last season.
Did he get traded last year? Or what
Yeah,
did
he
he
went
sign
back
with
to
them in the
the
offseason?
Sharks, if I'm not wrong.
Or did he sign? Was he with them the full season last year?
Yes, he was.
Okay,
77
gotcha.
games, only 5 goals and 3 assists, ended up a minus 37, minus 21 on career. He was went with the Sharks, and then he went to Tampa Bay, was with the Rangers, and then went back to the Sharks last season, which does not help him at all.
Oh, woof. All righty. It goes to Thomas Welch now for pick number 11.
All right. So this could very well be a copy paste. So I apologize, Jacob. But in going with the struggles that have happened in Chicago and in the struggles that have happened alongside Connor Bedard, this guy struggled almost as heavily last season, maybe even more heavily. In a minus 39 plus minus on the end of the season. I'm going to go with Tyler Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi, Chicago Blackhawks.
Not bad. Not bad.
I was scared. You know how they do like you know how you can do like quarterback and like wide receiver stacks in fantasy football? I was nervous that Jacob was going to stack Bedard and Bertuzzi in the season, and he would just win right there. Like that would have been rough.
You screwed me. You screwed me, Thomas.
Very rough.
You freaking
My fault.
jerk.
My fault.
Alrighty. Well, as I take a look at my draft board that is getting thin very quickly. Couple of options.
The good news is you only have to make 2 picks.
Thank God. Couple of options off the board here that I was originally keeping a close eye on, but I'm gonna stick with these are my last 2 picks. So I mean, I have to go with a I have one more pick after this. I've only picked twice. I'm sorry.
Correct. Yeah.
So if I wait to pick a D-man until the next round, until my next time up, not the 4th but the 5th, then there's going to be no one. I mean, I'm gonna be picking Justin Falk. Like, but so I feel like I have to go with one D-man here. Man. You know what? This option kind of does intrigue me a little bit. They weren't terrible last year, but they were in the mix for a playoff spot. But boy, the plus minus was bad regardless. And I tell you what, boys, I can't believe I wouldn't have expected myself to do this, but I'm kind of feeling it in the moment here. And as I recall, I can't think of any huge moves or acquisitions that the team has made this offseason. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Rasmus Andersson for my D-man here. So that's my 3rd pick, Anderson. And now on to my 4th pick, and then I'll get to take a nap in between picks here. Mike gets it. He gets the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and go with – has anyone picked anyone from Pittsburgh yet?
I have Carlson.
You have Carlson. All right, well, I'm going to roll with another Penguin. I'm going to go ahead and I think that I am going to go with Noel Acciari.
Ooh.
Noel Acciari last year, minus 25, of course, the former Blue, back in 22-23. Since then has bounced around with Toronto. Of course, he was traded to Toronto from St. Louis, and then has been in Pittsburgh the last 2 years. And those 2 years combined, minus 32. So I'm going to go with Noel Acciari for my 4th pick. And that brings up Jacob, right? No, Thomas. I'm sorry, Thomas.
Ooh, it is getting thin here, boys. I'm trying to think here. This will be my 4th pick, and I'll have one more. And I've got a kind of an ace up my sleeve that I know that nobody's going to pick. So I'm going to take that with my last pick.
I already mentioned Justin Falk.
It's not Justin. But I'm trying to think who makes sense for me here, and I don't know that I trust.
For those that need a quick refresher on who Thomas has, is Mario Ferraro, Erik Karlsson, and Tyler Bertuzzi.
Correct. Yeah. So I need a strong forward here because I feel like I'm building up every time, but it can all come crumbling down very quickly. I'm gonna go with a guy who has continually produced every season, but I feel like kind of the same as Erik Karlsson, his offensive potential has just outweighed his defensive struggles. And given the team that he's on, like it's not going to be Evan Bouchard because the Oilers are just going to score way more than they let up goals. But I feel like given the team that this guy's on, it could potentially be 50-50. And if he doesn't play good defense and he doesn't score a ton of goals, he's going to be looking at the wrong side. So I'm going to go with Brock Besser, forward for the Vancouver Canucks.
Brock Besser. Okay. Brock Besser with is Thomas's 4th pick. He joins the squad of Bertuzzi, Karlsson, and Ferraro, and that brings up Jacob Stanoch.
Well, it's a little tough. Again, the board definitely thinning.
I'm glad we did 5 instead of 10.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
Woof.
I'm gonna go and make an audible here. Guy who I didn't have my draft board. I was looking through everything, and I figured I think this is going to be the best route. I'm going to pick up my last defenseman. I feel like there's a lot of forwards left to go, and a guy who not super huge in terms of a star defensively, but we've seen his name around every now and then. Another defenseman with the Nashville Predators. Gonna go with Brady Skjei. Brady Skjei going off the board.
All righty, going with two D-men from Nashville, Roman Josi and Brady Skjei. So now the team for Jacob looking like Bedard and Barclay Goodrow, as well as Josi and Skjei. So there are the 4 picks for Jacob so far. That brings up Mike Meyer, who wakes up from his nap.
Boys, I've been making popcorn over here, just listening here to you guys.
Gets a chance to round out his team, though, here. With 2 picks, he'll be done.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so let's stick here. I'm going to stick in Motor City. I've been going back and forth here on 2 different guys here on who I want. It's just a matter here of which guy. I think I'm going to end up going here.
Lucas Raymond.
If you heard him, that's the guy, Lucas Raymond.
I knew it.
Wow.
There's pick number. That's pick number 4 for Mike, and now he gets, as Thomas said just a moment ago, wrap up his picks here.
And the tough part is because I really, really want this guy, but I'm also debating on how much ice time that he's going to end up getting, and that's the hard part here. With some of these folks is how much ice time are these guys going to potentially end up getting. I am going to go. I'm going to go back here to the West Coast, and I'm going to go Alex Wenberg.
All righty.
Yeah, we're going to go Alex Wenberg.
With San Jose last year, a -21.
Yikes.
Ooh.
It's a lot of big minus numbers out here, boys.
Yeah.
All righty. So Mike's draft has concluded.
We're done.
And he gets to enjoy his popcorn now. I'm not sure what he's going to do with his time now. Philip Kershev, Jamie Drysdale, Ben Sherratt, Lucas Raymond, and Alex Wenberg. Looks like a losing lineup to me. But that's the goal of this. That's not an insult. That's the goal of this. All right.
That's a goal.
So up next, Jacob Stanoch making his final pick.
I think, again, pulling another audible because he stayed on the board, kind of surprised. This is really going to be a question of how well his team produces next year. I don't think they'll get any better, but maybe just a little bit better performance. Gonna have to go with the final forward, the Chesterfield kid from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Gonna go with Luke Cunnin for my final pick.
I like that. I was thinking on him.
There is the final pick for Jacob, and now on to Thomas.
Man, I might make some people mad with this one, but I've been consistently taking players who have high offensive potential and still make a name for themselves in spite of their defensive incapabilities, I guess. A lot of times, young guys coming into the league, whether they produce or not, or whether they have great seasons or not, do not necessarily have solid plus minuses in their first full season in the NHL. And for that reason and that reason alone, you guys just heard me talk about Jimmy Snuggerud potentially being in the Calder conversation. I'm going to draft him on my team in terms of a plus minus because I think he's a great golfer. Jimmy Snuggerud with my final pick.
Okay, I thought that Snuggerud was your breakout guy earlier. It was Jacob, so I just about lost it for a second. I was like, the
guy he
what
would
is
have
going
picked,
on?
though.
The hypocrisy is out.
Wow,
it's not. I'm not saying he's going to be bad defensively, and I'm just saying a lot of times these rookies find themselves in that scenario where their plus minus is rough, right? I think Jake Neighbors, when he scored 20 his first full season, he had it was like a -10+ or something, like a -10. And so it's not like he had a bad season. It's just that he's on the ice a lot when the puck goes in the net. And it's like the NHL game is very fast and it takes a while to get accustomed to and adjusted to. And I feel like Jimmy's going to do a great job of that eventually. I just don't know that that's going to happen in his first season. Now, that being said, he might go out and score 30 goals this season, and that's fine. Like, I think there's potential there too. I'm just saying.
Here's my question. But now, like, the goal is still to win this thing. Now you're going to be pulling for Snuggerud to be on your plus minus. It's like you're praying for his downfall.
No.
I'm just hearing he doesn't have belief in this team. That's all I'm hearing.
I'm not praying on his downfall. I'm just going to be watching his plus minus. That's all I'm saying.
Talk about jumping to conclusions here. My God. Wow. All right. Well, as I look at the board here, and there are some big names. There is some talent on this list. There definitely is. There's even some veteran talent on these lists. But there's no one with the pedigree of the guy that I'm going to pick with my final pick. A guy that is on a team that continues to struggle. He's continuing to get up there in age. That's right. I'm going with Sid the Kid. Sidney Crosby.
Whoa! Bang. Hall of Famer.
Wow. Final pick. Sid the Kid. Maybe it's another great year for him, but the Penguins, that will not be great.
That might end up being your downfall when he gets traded 2 weeks into the season to the Colorado Avalanche.
I feel like it's one of those things. It feels like an unwritten rule. Like he might have done bad, but you're just not supposed to pick him. It's Sidney Crosby. I mean, it's like, how could you do that to him? Oh, that hurts.
What is done has been done. All right, that is it. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up all of the draft picks here. Guys, let me just as I pull this up, how you guys feeling? How you feeling about your teams?
I'm feeling a lot better after I looked up Alexander Wenberg to see who he's projected to be on a line with and to see him projected to playing second line minutes in San Jose alongside of Tyler Toffoli and Jeff Skinner. I'm happy.
All right, so Mike's going to win it off one player. Got it.
Yeah. It's the law of averages here, guys. That's all I'm saying. Like if Brock Besser, Tyler Bertuzzi was like a minus 38 last year, minus 39. He could win the thing by himself. And obviously I'm going to be preying on the Chicago Blackhawks downfall. Me and Jacob over here are going to be rooting against them every game. So it'll be phenomenal. That's going to be my main motivation this season, is just preying on the death of the Chicago Blackhawks.
And apparently Jimmy Snuggerud and the Blues as well.
No.
Yeah. What the heck?
No.
As long as the Blues win.
Besser, I hope Besser has a great season. I hope Jimmy has a great season. It's just, I wouldn't even say that I'm preying on Jimmy's downfall. Like the prosperity of the St. Louis Blues overrides any fantasy implications. But obviously, I just think from a rookie standpoint, I mean, if I swapped out Jimmy Snuggerud with Dalibor Dvorsky, I think he'd have the same problem. It's not because he sucks. It's just like the NHL is hard. Like, it is what it is. Macklin Celebrini he was like a minus 30 last year. And I think he had a pretty good season, right? So I think taking those things into consideration, it's just, law of averages, right? If you're young, if you're 18 to 20 years old, or, just a young gun getting your feet wet in the NHL, it's going to be a hard time from a plus minus standpoint until you figure it out. And a lot of guys don't figure it out for a couple years. That's all I'm saying.
Mike, I know you mentioned it just a moment ago. So who you think Wenberg is going to be your he's going to be your MVP this year? You think your last pick, or you think it's going to be top head? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be between Wenberg and Kurashev, but I'm really liking Wenberg there.
Jacob, how about you? Your thoughts on your team?
I like it. Based off of the trends that have been, what I've seen for the past few years, this is a trend that's not just last year. This is, I've picked based off of what I've known, what I've seen the past couple of years, and it's just continued on. And it's another thing where I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon. So I'm confident.
Thomas?
I think my D-men are going to carry me hard. I'm hoping Carlson doesn't get traded, because it feels like there's been some talks about that, and that would kind of throw a wrench into some things. I think Bertuzzi's in a great spot to, get some eagles, get some albatrosses, get some balls on the green right off the drive. Like he's been phenomenal at that. And then, I think the sore spot for me is probably Jimmy Snuggerud, but you know what? I'm a gambler at heart. And I'm going to roll the dice, and it is what it is. Like he could very well pull a Jordan Kyrou and be plus 20 on the season and work directly against me. But I feel like I've done a good job with my other guys in terms of solidifying their minuses and their golf scores that I was able to roll the dice with a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud. And so I still feel pretty strongly about my team.
There's something I hear. Where is that, Jacob? This is where you do your thing,
Traitor.
Oh, there it is. I thought I was hearing something. I couldn't.
All right, I think Jacob's got a cough over there.
That's sure. I'm feeling pretty good about my team. I think that there's a couple of guys that could end up biting me, and I think that I think I could be a boomer bust kind of thing, where I could either do really well, but I could also do really poorly and by far get last in this. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that was a lot of fun. Obviously, we're really excited to be bringing you guys the content during this off season. It's been fun these last couple of episodes here, and we're gonna have more of this kind of stuff as the off season continues on. And once we get closer to the year, we're going to be able to start breaking down some of the stuff that we're seeing and hearing about this team. And there's going to be a lot of exciting coverage. So, gentlemen, before we wrap, any brief final thoughts that you want to say to the people?
I just want to say, if you guys think this is the only time you're ever going to see this team, absolutely not. We're going to have social media graphics. I'm going to try to put some stuff together so you can, even people that didn't tune into this episode right as it dropped can visually see who's on each team. And then we're going to, keep tabs on it throughout the course of the season, see who's winning. Definitely going to be me. See who's losing. Definitely not going to be me. But as the positions, fluctuate throughout the course of the season, we'll be able to, keep in time on the scoreboard consistently. So that'll be a lot of fun for sure.
I think as we're all feeling good here about these drafts, I think we need to let the fans vote. I think we need to get a fan vote out there. Who's got the best worst lineup?
Share your thoughts in the comments as well.
Who
Share your
best winners and losers?
Who's getting the green jacket?
All fun stuff. We appreciate you guys joining us for this episode of Blue Central. As always, all of our content here on STL Sports Central is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We will see you guys soon. From Jacob Stanoch, Mike Meyer, and Thomas Welch, I am Ethan Hannaford saying so long from Blue Central on STL Sports Central.